Hello shooters. Today we're going to talk about how to install the Zhukov, the Magpul Zhukov front handguard. In other words, we're going to take an AK that looks like this on the front end and change it into an AK that looks like this on the front end. Why, you ask? Because I'm not a fan of rails on the fore end. I have on my AR just right on the top rail. I don't use vertical foregrips. I don't use angled foregrips. I don't do any of that. I like it kind of slick. I like the plastic. So that's why I did it. Okay. So let's talk about how to install it.
Okay, here's my project AK. And what I'm going to do is install a Zhukov Magpul longer fore end. The first step is going to be remove the lower handguard, and then to cut off the handguard retainer, which is right there. So let's get to it. Okay, so we've got the front handguard retainer off. All I did is Dremel to make some weak spots on here, and then pried it off. So we've got the AK without the handguard retainer. Here's the old handguard and the retainer. Let's see what these bad boys weigh. So the handguard and the retainer weighs 5.7 ounces.
Okay, here's the contents of the Magpul box. There's some instructions in here and something about M-LOK accessories. There's this upper handguard that I'm not going to use. What I am going to use is the handguard itself, and there's the chassis in here. And let's turn the scale on. So we got the chassis and the handguard. We've got the little barrel clamp things and the hardware. So we're looking at 13 ounces, almost 14 ounces for all purposes. And the thing we took off was 5.5, so we're looking at a net gain of 8 ounces. But for that net gain of 8 ounces, for my purposes, I'm going to gain a whole lot of utility in the respects that I'll be able to put my hand out there further. So in the instructions, we're to this point right here. We've taken the front handguard retainer off. Now the instructions are to remove the chassis from the front handguard, and I found that it's in there pretty tight. So I just got a wooden dowel and a bigger hammer, and once you tap on it a few times, it'll come right out. Okay, and then we want the barrel clamps out of the bag. Okay, now we're ready to install this bad boy. Magpul does not send along an Allen wrench. The Allen wrench that fits these particular fasteners that I have is 1/8 inch. They don't specify what size in the instructions, so maybe that leaves them the option of shipping different fasteners with different lots or whatever, but you got to supply your own Allen wrench. Okay, now 2 of these clamps have no threads, and 2 of these clamps have threads. What you want to do is grab the ones with no threads. Just look through. It's pretty easy to tell. And they want you to put these things in here so they line up. And then we put the long fasteners through here. And we put it on the barrel. Now they did say in the instructions that if you do have an Ultimac on here, that you take the Ultimac off, that you put this lower handguard on loosely, and then put the Ultimac on before you tighten this all up. Okay, now we're just putting the fasteners on, getting those clamps. We want to keep them a little bit loose. We don't want to snug them up. It is a little bit hard to get those socket head cap screws in there because Magpul put some thread locker on those, which is good.
but it's just you can't use your fingers to get him at all. You have to use the wrench the whole time, so it makes it a little bit more difficult, but easier to get him in. I'm faster with my fingers than I am one of those Allen wrenches. Then when you put the handguard over the chassis, you got to get the chassis just right in order for the handguard to fit like you want it to fit. So it takes a little bit of fiddling around, as you can see.
Okay, that was kind of a little bit of a mother to get on. The reason why these holes have to line up with that chassis, I had to kind of move the chassis back and forth when I have the handguard bottomed out back here on the receiver. Notice on my Saiga that it's about halfway into that hole there. But now we have this lined up. I'll be able to put these screws in and then start tightening up these clamps. Now it's time for full assembly. And there's the finished product. Okay, final thoughts after the install. I like it so far. I like being able to put my hand out there with no fear of getting burnt, at least I hope so. I hope I don't have to run an AK with a glove all the time, like I do a regular AK. But I'll put some rounds down range in the next few days, and then I'll report back how I like it. But so far, just dry fire, I like it.